Thank you very much. I so appreciate the reminder. So as we gather together today on this very important Tuesday, let's take a few settling breaths. And I just invite you to sit comfortably, and we'll breathe together just to get here, to let go of the busyness of our mornings. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. So it is nice to be here with you today on what sort of almost feels like the beginning of spring, but we know it's simply a tease. And I'm going to start off with a little quick outline of this week's Parsha, Vayakil. The Parsha starts with a reminder about the importance of Shabbat, and that we're to refrain from work on Shabbat, and that it is a day holy for Yud-He, Vav-He. And then the Parsha immediately goes into excruciating detail about the Mishkan, the structure of it, the interior furnishings, and even the courtyard, and how the materials are to be donated. So as I read the Parsha, two major themes came up for me. So one is Shabbat and its meaning and practice, and the other is generosity and its meaning and practice. So we're going to talk about both of those things today. The part of the Parsha that really emphasizes generosity is almost the entire chapter 35. And I'm going to read several selections from that chapter and then share my thinking with you. So verse 5 says, "Take from among you gifts to Yud-He Vav-He. Everyone whose heart is so moved shall bring them gifts for Yud-He Vav-He." And then there's a very long list of what these items should include, and including gold and silver and copper and all kinds of gemstones and wood. It's very, very detailed. Fabrics and the colors of the fabrics. Then verse 10, "And let all among you who are skilled come and make all that Yud-He Vav-He has commanded." And then again, there are more details about the artisans and what they should be doing. Then verses 20 to 22. "So the whole community of the Israelites left Moses' presence," because prior to this, Moses was sharing with the people what God had instructed him, Moses, to say. "And everyone who excelled in ability and everyone whose spirit was moved came, bringing to Yud-He Vav-He an offering for the work of the tent of meeting and for all of its service and for the sacred vestments. Men and women, all whose hearts moved them, all who would make an elevation offering of gold to Yud-He Vav-He, came bringing brooches and earrings, rings, pendants, gold objects of all kinds. And then it continues with all of the different kinds of objects that were brought, the various gemstones and the yarn of, I love this, blue, purple, and crimson, and copper and acacia wood and all kinds of things. Then line 29, verse 29, the Israelites, all the men and women whose hearts moved them to bring anything for the work that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh through Moses had commanded to be done, brought it as a free will offering to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. So I think we have a very clear teaching here that generosity isn't only what you give, it's how you give it with an open heart. So the intention coupled with the actual giving seems to be really important. It simply isn't the same. If I write a check to an organization because I think I should, or because all of my friends are supporting this particular organization and I really don't know anything about it, that's very different. And it feels different to me than when I write a check to an organization because I believe in the organization and I really want to support it. So in one instance, I'm doing something out of obligation. Then, I'm still giving and that's fine. But the other instance, I'm giving with an open heart. The intention, the kavanah, the attitude really, really matters. And that's what's being highlighted, I think, in these selections that I read. The other part of this discussion of generosity in the Parsha that I'm really drawn to is that part of verse 10, all among you who are skilled. So some people have special talents, and giving of their time and their energy and the talent that they have is also an act of generosity. We often think of generosity only in monetary terms. But again, it's the attitude that matters. When we prepare a meal for somebody in need, if we do it begrudgingly, it's different. It feels different for us. Our experience is different than if we do that with an open heart, as a free will offering, if you will. So there's one other piece about the generosity section of this that I want to elevate. In Rabbi Aaron Lieb Smokler's commentary this week, she talked about this whole episode of generosity and bringing gifts freely for the building of the Mishkan from a very different perspective. And I thought it was really, really interesting. She related this to last week's Parsha, where we had the incident of the golden calf, and that the people were really severing their relationship with Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh by building the golden calf. And that when all of this ended up being over, the people were really ashamed and felt unworthy of God's love. So God creates this need for the people to be generous, to be giving in order to build the Mishkan. And that putting the people in a position where they needed to give opened up their hearts so that they could receive. That it wasn't until they were able to feel lovable that they could receive the love of God. And that, when we give with an open heart, it feels good. So we're more receptive. So I just thought that piece was very, very interesting. And it certainly reminded me of some of the meditations that we've done in the past, and we will certainly do in the future, but not today. You know, the whole teaching that I have received from John McCransky about being open to receiving love so that we can fill ourselves, so that we have that which to give, because we can't give what we don't have. So I thought that was particularly interesting, and certainly not a path I had gone down when I was looking at the Parsha. So the other theme is Shabbat that I want to talk about. So the Parsha opens with Moses reminding the people of the importance of Shabbat and refraining from work on Shabbat. And I just think that this is important for so many reasons. And one of those reasons is that it precedes the building of the Mishkan, or the details that we learn about building the Mishkan. So Shabbat comes first. It's in contrast to the intense work of building the Mishkan. So it's sort of like stop before you even start. Stop, take a breath, notice what you're about to do, pay attention to what you're about to do, and do it with intention, with kavanah. That's one way to interpret all of this. Shabbat is so important that the holy work of building the Mishkan can wait. We'll have Shabbat first, then we'll build the Mishkan. And if we don't finish the Mishkan in those 6 days that we have, that work will stop and can wait so that we can have Shabbat again. So there's this elevation in my mind of the need for rest and renewal so that we can be really creative and productive during those 6 days. There is no indication, as far as I know, in the Torah that we're looking for a world where it's only Shabbat and there's no work. We value the work, and we value the contrast, the rest. No, Shabbat as the pause that refreshes. And I also see this as kind of related to what we talked about last week, that we take some breaths. Shabbat is taking that breath. We calm down when we're upset so that we don't lash out. We talked about that last week. And we take some breaths and we quiet ourselves so that we can really be fully present for whatever it is that's presenting itself during the week. And I think that we can certainly take Shabbat moments, if you will, during the day, during the week, and really allow ourselves those periods of rest as we need them or want them. You know, sometimes it's not a need that we recognize until after we've done it, but we can take those pauses and rest and renew ourselves so that we can enter into the doing again. So Shabbat, the emphasis is on the being. The rest of the week, the emphasis is on the doing. So I invite you to take your position for meditation. Pay attention to your posture. So let's allow ourselves to be well supported where we're sitting. and reaching up from the pelvis all the way up through the spine, back of the neck, crown of the head, reaching up to the heavens. And then making sure that your shoulders are nice and low, down. Let them sink. And your shoulders should not be up by your ears. And I invite you to take a few nice, deep cleansing breaths. Inhaling as fully as is comfortable for you. Holding that breath. And slowly and completely exhaling. And again. And as you are sitting here, allowing yourself this luxury, this approximately 10 minutes of Shabbat in the middle of the day, can breathe in rest and relaxation and breathe out any tension. And allow yourself to simply be. So I invite you to begin to deepen your breath. And maybe begin to move around a little bit, bringing your attention outward. And as you very slowly come back to the room, I'm going to share from Marge Piercy's The Seven Pentacles. Under a sky the color of pea soup, she is looking at her work growing away there actively, thickly, like grapevines or pole beans, as things grow in the real world, slowly enough. If you tend them properly, if you mulch, if you water, if you provide birds that eat insects a home and winter food, if the sun shines and you pick off caterpillars, if the praying mantis comes and the ladybugs and the bees, then the plants flourish, but at their own internal clock. Connections are made slowly. Sometimes they grow underground. You cannot tell always by looking what is happening. More than half the tree is spread out in the soil under your feet. Penetrate quietly as the earthworm that blows no trumpet. Fight persistently as the creeper that brings down the tree. Spread like the squash plant that overruns the garden. Gnaw in the dark and use the sun to make sugar. Weave real connections. Create real nodes. Build real houses. Live a life you can endure. Make love that is loving. Keep tangling and interweaving and taking more in, a thicket and bramble wilderness to the outside, but to us, interconnected with rabbit runs and burrows and lairs. Live as if you liked yourself, and it may happen. Reach out, keep reaching out, keep bringing in. This is how we are going to live for a long time. Not always, for every gardener knows that after the digging, after the planting, after the long season of tending and growth, the harvest comes. So I am going to turn off the recording.